Hello YouTubers, it's Travis. So yesterday kind of had some news as far as Storybook Brawl goes, and it's taken us into a little bit of a deeper world, and I spent the better part of yesterday on stream talking about it, thinking through it, and trying desperately to come to an opinion about what I think this means for Storybook Brawl going forward. And I want to share those opinions here. They may change over time. I've had about 24 hours to think about it and digest this. Your opinions may change over time. I may look back on this and say, wow, I was really wrong. Or I may look back on this and say, wow, I was incredibly right and smart and handsome. That's usually what happens, but you never know. So first of all, what exactly happened? A company called FTX bought Good Luck Games. That's the studio that produced Storybook Brawl. This was a couple of Magic player nerd friends who built an auto battler, and they've now been purchased by FTX. Who the heck is FTX? They're a cryptocurrency exchange group, kind of like a little stock market for cryptocurrency. You can kind of think about it like FD Ameritrade or whatever, these stock market investment companies, but it's for crypto, okay? They're the same company that sponsored Limited Resources a while back, and gamers hate cryptocurrency and gamers hate NFTs. And honestly, for me, because everyone I followed on Twitter hated cryptocurrency and NFTs and was kind of like very vocally, this is a bad thing, these things are stupid, they're burning down the rainforests, and all people use crypto for is to buy heroin and feet pics, I was like, okay, I'll just assume this is bad and not think about it too much. And now, all of a sudden, it's come up that this game that I've been playing and enjoying and streaming and therefore tacitly supporting is going to be doing something with crypto, at the very least owned by people who are involved with cryptocurrency and NFTs. And how do I feel about that? What does that mean? And that's what a lot of people are grappling with. And I've seen reactions from, hey, this is a good thing. They've got a lot more capital. They can make a really good game, to if NFTs and crypto is involved in any way with this game, I'm out. So I want to first start with a little bit of an understanding about who FTX is. I did some research into this, and one of the things that's interesting is like they're kind of already working with a lot of people like TSM, Riot Games, Major League Baseball. And this is what aboutism, and this became a big part of it on the stream yesterday, right? It's like, well, you're opposed to this, but what about this other thing you do? You obviously live in a society. Gotcha there. You stream on Twitch. Haha, checkmate, atheists. And it's like, yeah, I know that all Bezos really wants to do is return to Bezos and touch butts with his wife. And you could argue that like this guy has some problems and he's maybe making some poor decisions. I'm not looking to get into whataboutism, but I am going to mention that FTX has their fingers in kind of everything right now. And if you want to entirely avoid them, you may need to go off grid and build a cabin. My opinion of crypto as of yesterday was kind of, this seems bad and stupid. And I think it's mostly moved to, this seems stupid. And we'll get into that. But I did want to mention, as I was digging around on FTX and reading some more about it, the guy that runs it, Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF, kind of seems to be an okay dude. He's about philanthropy and charity. And like, there's an argument that you can't make a bunch of money and be a decent human being. But there's also kind of this counter movement that he seems to be involved in, where you set out to make a bunch of money in the finance sector with the idea of donating it all. Now, I can already hear the objections. I can see the comments, and I hear you, man. It's like, what difference does it make if you make a bunch of money doing something that's environmentally unsound and unethical, and you burn down all the rainforests and then give the money back to the cold ash heap that is the earth? I mean, touche, you have a point. What is an NFT? What is cryptocurrency? What the heck is it good for? I got a better understanding of it yesterday as we read a bunch of articles and discussed it and talked with it in people in chat. And I did a bunch more reading and watched a bunch more videos after the stream to dig into it. And it's essentially a complicated ledger that one person isn't in charge of. So let's say you buy something from me. I'll write it down that you bought it, what you paid for it. I've got a copy of it. I could even print you a receipt on a cash register, and you've got a copy of it. So if it ever comes up, did I actually buy this? Yeah, we can prove that you did. That's cool. If I decide to change it, Maybe I change the amount that you bought it for. You bought this picture of me picking my nose for $3, but I write down that you paid $2 for it and put $1 in my pocket. Well, that's a problem. That's also known as cooking the books. What this is doing is when I write down, essentially what blockchain is doing is when I'd go to write down in my ledger, and you can tell I'm Gen X because I'm still thinking about writing everything down rather than putting it on a computer. But imagine I have a notepad in my hand and I'm going to write down on it, which I do all the time, that you bought a picture of me picking my nose for $3. Imagine if each of those lines was split down and put on a different notepad. And then instead of me having the whole notepad, I gave one to Susie, one to Billy, one to Sean, and one to Emma. That would mean that none of us have the full ledger. So if I want to change what you bought it for, I can't do that. And if Emma wants to change what you bought it for, she can't do that. Nobody can do that. The information is sound. So that, like, on its surface, seems like a pretty good idea. But you are going through, like, if we scale this example up to what it actually is, about 100 notebooks to get it done. I kind of don't see the point of doing that. Like, for me, this is the part that's really challenging, is because you're using a lot of notebooks, and those notebooks represent energy. And the whataboutism comes back into it again, man, because it's like, hey, Jeff Bezos freaking flew Bill Shatner into space and had a larger environmental impact than anything I'll ever do in my life. I could go buy a diesel car, turn it on right now, and run it until I die and never have that level of environmental impact. But that shouldn't justify other things. So it's like, my brain is still baffled here, but let's try to stay focused. Okay, so FTX doesn't seem that bad as far as companies that are doing what they do. The guy in charge seems to be like a good dude, so it comes down to, is cryptocurrency inherently bad because of what it's doing? It's a money system that's looking to get off of being backed by a government. And that seems like it could be useful in some circumstances. And I went through a phase of political ideology, where I would have considered myself a libertarian. And I think that, Travis, 22 years ago or so, would have been really into crypto and that idea of it's not tied to the government. It also gets into, like, somebody would have to enforce this ledger if there's a dispute. That's kind of going to have to be a government. So you're still sort of tied to the government. So my biggest thing is, we have this technology and we can do this sort of split ledger, but I don't know what the hell we're supposed to do with it. And it really seems like, from what I can tell, nobody else does either. That the cryptocurrencies are pretty far away from being an actual currency, and right now they're kind of like just this weird investment vehicle that people are investing in. There's a lot of companies that are accepting cryptocurrency, and there's a lot of people that are involved with these crypto exchanges and cryptocurrencies. Like, if you are opposed to this morally, it's one of those things where, like, you kind of got to stop watching baseball and football, and we need to hate David Ortiz and TSM and Riot Games and Stephen Curry. And, like, I'm just looking at the biggest names who trust FTX. So, like, I don't know. The part that still gets me is, how is this useful? Because I'm thinking about it from a trading card perspective. And the whole idea with NFTs is that we can prove that you own something, right? Something that's not actually in your possession, like a digital asset. And we've kind of been able to have trading card games, which Storybook Brawl isn't a trading card game, it's an auto battler. But we've been able to have trading card games in the past where you could trade the cards and the cards had value, but you didn't technically own them. And that was Magic Online with digital objects. Like, I played Moto 20 years ago. I was in the beta for it, and I still have cards from way back then. And I can still sell them for real dollars if I want to. Like, we can already do what a lot of people say they want to do with NFTs in gaming. And, like, I don't understand why we would want this. So that's the part I'm just confused about, is, like, it looks like this, like, blockchain stuff can be done using less power, and maybe at some point in the future there's a benefit, but that line of logic doesn't lead to it's a good thing now. I'm kind of torn between, like, I remember this was a big deal in the 80s when I was a kid, and some of you may not remember this, but you can Google it. Basically, the hairspray people used was eating our ozone layer, and we didn't freaking know it. We were just hairspraying our hair, and like if you go watch anything from the 80s, like everybody's got big freaking hair. I wouldn't. Well, back then maybe I would have. I'd have gotten a big giant toupee and like palm trees everywhere. Crazy freaking hair. You hear about hair metal and stuff. That's what I saw on TV. Every time they sprayed it, they were just nuking the ozone. So do we have that? Do we have a technology that like, hey, here's something that we really don't need and we could just destroy our planet with? Or did we basically just drop a laptop on a medieval scholar who's like, I don't know what the heck this is and what I'm supposed to do with it, but it would be really useful if he could figure it out, right? Like, could get in there and like store all kinds of information and do mathematical computations. It's just too advanced. And I don't know is the answer, but I know that this stuff is getting everywhere. So I don't know. It looks to me like crypto is wasteful, but so is a lot of other stuff. So maybe I don't need to hate it just because of that. And maybe I need to reserve judgment. What does this mean for Storybook Brawl? Who the hell knows? Like, it's difficult to say. I certainly don't know. Nothing has changed yet. Nothing has been announced to be changed yet as far as how the game goes. There's a lot of people that have said they're very excited that Storybook Brawl has achieved new funding. And there's a lot of people that said they don't want to touch anything that's involved with NFTs with somebody else's 10-foot pole, and they're uninstalling. There's a lot of people leaving negative reviews of the game right now because they don't like the idea of cryptocurrency and NFTs. What does this mean for me? It means a couple of things. Like, there's a lot of people saying that cryptocurrency is inherently predatory. And I think you could make that argument about casinos, and yet people still go to them. Some people enjoy it. Some people get addicted. Some people have problems. I think you could make that argument about Magic the Gathering. Like opening the booster packs or fishing for that mythic. Like, it was the original loot box game where you get it in paper. And it's like, how far do you want to go with that argument, right? Like, I suppose I could make the argument that if you're collecting paper cards for a game, you're harming the environment. Huh. Gotcha. Like, you could just have digital cards and not all this cardboard that you're wasting. And is it really worth $500 because somebody says it is? And like, man, artificial scarcity of NFTs really pisses me off, but I'm saving up for a Black Lotus. Like, again, I know that's whataboutism. I can hear it. I just kind of can't see the difference. And like, my life is about to change a lot. Tracy's going to be here. For those of you who don't know, Sim Wife and I are expecting a baby. Sim Baby is going to be here in like 5 weeks. I don't know if I'll have time to stream strategy games. We may need to be streaming games like Slay the Spire and FTL. And I think whatever changes are coming are going to be further down the line than 5 weeks. I doubt we'll even know anything substantially about changes coming to Storybook Brawl from them. So my stance for now is I'm going to wait and see. If they do stuff to the game that makes me feel icky, and I would define that as, here's a cryptocurrency-based purchase that you can make in the game that affects gameplay. For example, here's a hero that you can only buy with Solana coin or Dogecoin or whatever. That happens, see you later. I'm out. I'm done with pay-to-play games. That is really what got me out of MTG Arena. If they do some sort of cosmetics where you get an NFT saying that you own the art asset, I mean, again, I don't really understand the point. Like, I can sell my AK skins on Steam for Counter-Strike, and I can buy them, and I can't import them to other games, and I don't expect to, and that's kind of fine, right? So I don't really understand why you would want to do that. But if you do, and I can be convinced that it's, you know, not burning down acres of rainforest, I don't really care. I don't have a problem with that. So like, I'm okay with them exploring the space and seeing if they can do anything. And if I don't like what they do, I'm gonna get out. And if people stop watching the game or stop playing the game, duh, I'm gonna get out. I'm not gonna be like the only person here still streaming Artifact after 200 years and be like, yeah, it's gonna be great. We just need to get 2 players so I can play a game. So I don't know, that was a bit rambly, but what it means for me is that for the short term at least, I'm going to continue to stream Storybook Brawl. I'm going to play the game, and anybody that has questions about it, I'm going to point them to this video and say, go watch this video. This is what I think, which is I haven't really made up my mind yet. I don't know how you can make up your mind about we were acquired. A lot could be changing in the future, but I don't know any of it yet. So like there's just no information there. But I felt like I had to put these thoughts down into a video for my own anxiety, because it did make me very anxious yesterday. And to kind of go a little bit more in depth about all of the conflicting things that I was feeling. If you want to discuss what I've said here, I suspect the YouTube comments would be a better place to do it than bringing it into Twitch chat. Although if you do bring it there and I have time to talk about it, or we want to get into it, I can. But don't be upset if you come to Twitch and are like, I want to argue about this. I'm probably not going to want to argue. That doesn't seem like my jam, but I'm certainly open to feedback. Some people don't read their YouTube comments. I read them. I read them all. And I appreciate to those of you that make comments on all of them. I appreciate to those of you that are subscribed, and I appreciate those of you that are engaged. Thank you. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover there. But if I don't, we'll do a part 2. And in, part 2, we can have a better clickbaity title or something. All right, thanks for watching. Come watch the stream. We'll be streaming Storybook Brawl, and who knows what we'll be streaming in another 5 weeks. Probably nothing, because I'm going to take at least a couple weeks off with SimWife. But when we come back, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows?